Welcome back, Pokemon trainers. This is your friendly neighborhood Bullados, and today we're going to try something a little bit different from what I normally do. What you see in front of you is the deck that I ran through Battle Roads this year. Only managed to play a couple tournaments, but I had a lot of success with this deck. This deck is pretty much a standard issue Rayquaza Eelektrik deck, and I'm going to show you guys how I built this thing, and what my reasoning behind every single decision that I made with this deck was. The first thing I'm going to show you guys is the main card in this deck, Eelektrik. Eelektrik, there's basically nothing cool about him as far as attacking. The cool thing about him is his ability, Dynamotor. Once during your turn before you attack, you may attach an electric energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. This is a card that sets up the entire deck, and once you get a few of these guys out, you get to attack with just about anything really big and really powerful really quickly. More often than not, the guy that you're going to be attacking with is this Rayquaza EX. He's a big beefy dude, 170 HP, weakness to dragon, retreat cost of 1. First attack, not really interesting, but it's the second attack that we care about. Dragon Burst. Discard all basic fire energies or basic electric energies attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 60 damage times the number of energy cards you discard. So, if you can get 2 or 3 electric out, and the 2 Rayquazas out that I've got up here, you can pretty much go back and forth, dealing 120, 180, 240 damage every single turn. Unfortunately, that's not usually quite enough to win most games, which is why I brought this guy in, Rayquaza EX. Again, another big beefy guy, 170 HP, fighting weakness. His first attack is pretty decent, Thunder Fang. Does 30 damage, flip a coin if heads the defending Pokemon is paralyzed. But the big thing here is its second attack, Volt Bolt. For 3 energies, you can discard all the electric energies attached to him and do 100 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. It's to any Pokemon, but more often than not, you're using Raikou to snipe the bench. Most games with this deck come down to trading off between Rayquaza and Raikou for the biggest attack possible and for a knockout every single turn that you can make that happen. Now, what I did with this particular build of the deck is I tried and built it so that I never have to worry about anything. So that on every time that I play this game, I'll get pretty much the same thing going every single time. So there are several ways that I did that. The first thing that I did is with my Dynamo choice. This particular Dynamo looks to be one of the weakest of the bunch. It only has 30 HP. Its attack only does 1 energy for 10 damage, but the really big thing here is his retreat cost. Nothing. This is the only Dynamo that has a free retreat. And the reason that is so big is because of this guy, my Thundurus. His damaging attack, to me, is not the big thing here, and unfortunately, my camera doesn't seem to want to focus on this one. I'll pick up the other one then. Should be able to focus on this thing. There we go, that's better. He's got 110 HP, fighting weakness. His Disaster Volt does 80 for 3 and you discard an energy, but the big thing for me, for this deck, is his charge attack, which allows me to search my deck for a basic electric energy and attach it to my Thundurus. This makes sure that I have 2 energies in play starting on turn 1, which is a huge energy advantage. Other things that I do to make sure that I'm getting all the stuff that I need. First of all, you might notice over here I'm running a 4/4 electric line. My supporters, I have 4 Professor Juniper discard your hand, draw 7. I have 4N. Both players shuffle their hand into their deck and draw a number of cards equal to their own prize cards. 2 Charon, draw 3 cards. 2 Bianca, draw until you have 6. Also, 2 Random Receiver, which lets you flip a card from your deck until you reveal one of these 4 supporter cards. With all this stuff, I will pretty much always have a supporter in my hand at any point during the game. But that's not enough to get everything that I need. Next thing that we're going to look at are my trainers. These things are all designed pretty much to get stuff out of the deck. The first thing that we're going to look at is Level Ball, which to me is the single most important card in the deck. Search your deck for a Pokemon with 90 HP or less, reveal it and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterward. Now I know that it only looks like it gets weak Pokemon, but the weak Pokemon in this deck are the ones that drive it. Electric and Dynamo both have 90 HP or less. So if on turn 1 I can chain 2 Level Balls together, then that means I have 2 Dynamos in play. And it becomes virtually impossible for my opponent on turn 1 to deal with 2 Dynamos. I also have my Ultra Ball. Discard 2 cards from your hand to search your deck for any Pokemon. This does 2 things for me. First of all, it lets me search out any one of these guys over here. More often than not, what I'm going to be searching with this are my Electric and Dynamo stuff, because those are the most important cards in the deck. What it also does is it allows me to discard my Electric Energy to use with Electric. This is also why Professor Juniper is such a cool card in this deck. 2 other cards that I have in here. Oh yeah, and by the way, my Level Balls and Ultra Balls, both 4 of them. I would not think of running less than that because I'm so concerned about getting the cards that I need quickly enough so that my opponent doesn't have the chance to recover. 2 other cards that I use to get stuff are these 2 Pokemon Communications. These things are probably the weakest Pokemon searcher in the deck, Focus. And because you need to have a Pokemon in your hand in order to search for a Pokemon. More often than not, if I have a Pokemon in my hand, I want to play it. So, you know, I keep them there because I'm so concerned about deck searching. A few other things that are really cool here. Pokemon Catcher. Switch your opponent's active Pokemon with one of his or her benched Pokemon. Basically means that no matter what, if I have a Pokemon Catcher, I'm getting a knockout. That's the big thing. 1 knockout every single turn from the moment that you get multiple Electric into play. Every single turn after that, usually it's like turn 2 or turn 3 onwards. You put your opponent on at most an 8-turn or 9-turn clock to get you done. So that's what this entire deck is focused on, getting through those 8 or 9 turns as quickly and efficiently as possible. Super Rod. This is the only bit of recovery that we have in this deck. Shuffle up to 3 combination of Pokemon and basic energies from the discard pile back into your deck. Notice that this deck only really has 6 attackers, and only 4 of those are worth much of anything after the first couple of turns. The Rayquaza and the Raikus. Thundurus is in the deck almost completely to search energies out on the first and possibly the second turn, depending on how things go. So if even one of these guys gets knocked out, or if even one of them is prized, you need to be able to recycle them as much as you possibly can. You only want to run 1 Super Rod because, you know, there's only so much that you need to recover. The last major cards here are the Switch and the Sky Arrow. Switch is pretty obvious, lets you switch your active Pokemon with your bench Pokemon. Sky Arrow reduces the retreat cost of all of your basic Pokemon by 1. So that means that Rayquaza and Raikou and Thundurus all have free retreat as long as Sky Arrow Bridge is in play. I play 5 between these two, and I probably made a mistake in this. If I had made a mistake in this deck build, it's right here with these 5 spots. Because what I should have done is had only 2 Sky Arrows and 3 switches. Because one of the big counter strategies to this deck is to catcher up Electric. Electric has a pretty beefy 2 energy retreat cost. Plus, it has a very low 90 HP. So if someone catchers it up, they can either knock it out that turn, or they can let it sit there and, you know, wait and wait and wait for themselves to get set up, while you're focusing on just trying to get this thing out of the active position. Plus, you know, Switch does pretty much the same thing as Sky Arrow Bridge, only it's not permanent. So Switch is generally the more important card to have. This right here, I believe to be my only major mistake in this build of the deck for the purposes of what I'm trying to do. The last cards here are the cards that you need to attack. 4 Fire Energy, 8 Electric Energy. I know that a lot of people say that that's not enough energy, but when you have something like Electric that can cycle energies out of your discard pile, and you have something like Thundurus that can pull those energies out of your deck, it is generally very, very easy to get the electric energies that you need. The harder thing is getting the fire energies. But considering the amount of raw draw power that is in this deck, combined with the amount of cards that I have to thin the deck of things that I don't want to draw, such as Pokemon. Such as the Pokemon that I'm not going to be using. Say, I don't know, middle of the game. I don't need Thundurus anymore, so I can use an Ultra Ball, discard a couple of energy, discard a couple of electric energies or things that I'm not going to use, pick the Thundurus out of my deck. Then not play it, just to get it out of the deck. Then play a Juniper. The Thundurus is 1 less card that I can grab off of that Juniper, and 1 less card getting in the way of my 4 fire energies. Now, having said that, I have not run into a situation where I have been wanting for a fire energy. Through all of my league testing, through all my tournament games, I've never once lacked a fire energy to attach. I might have attached them in the wrong order, or to the wrong Pokemon, but I've never been wanting for a fire energy. Now, as I said at the beginning, this deck was built specifically for the Battle Roads format. For the format from Black and White through Dragons Exalted, without including Dragon Vault. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to see what new cards that came out in Boundaries Crossed and in Dragon Vault that could potentially hurt this deck. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.